Welcome back to Things Go Sideways, where we have honest conversations about what happens when your world gets shaken up in a way that makes it impossible to continue on the path that you were on. Today, I am sitting down with Geoff Livingston, longtime marketer, author, Zen Buddhist, marathoner, former punk kid. His new book, Now Is Gone, comes out June 2nd. That's the time frame we're aiming for, and is available for pre-order by the time you all will hear this. He used that title in 2007 for a book that was originally about social media, but this one is different. It's written in the month after his dad died and the company he co-founded, Cognitive Path, wound down. His world, or at least some important parts of it, came apart in about a time span of 30 days. We're going to talk about that, the book, and how all of that pertains to you all. Geoff, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kiki. It's such an honor to be here. Your show is awesome. As I've gone through this period, I've benefited from listening to the shows. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you for that. That means a lot to me because I think all of us have those moments where our lives are the snow globes and life comes up and shakes it up really good and we can't see anything around us. And so that is part of the story we're talking about here, which it's always hard to sort of jump into this stuff raw, but it is, things go sideways. And you lost your dad. You watched Cognitive Path wind down. You watched your dad wind down inside the same month. If you don't mind, I know this is kind of abrupt, but if you don't mind taking us back to that stretch, not the timeline, but what those weeks actually felt like to move through, it would be interesting to hear about what sticks with you most from that time frame. What was happening in your life at that time?
Yeah, sure. So I think maybe the best way to look at it is going back to summer of 25. Cognitive Path was clearly winding down, and we had really suffered quite a bit as a result of the administration change. We were heavily targeting civilian agencies. That was our primary market. We had a lot of trade associations as a secondary market, but they were our primary market as a result of Doge. I know we're not alone in that, and I don't want to say anything too crazy about that because there's so many people that have suffered in the greater Washington area during that time and still continue to suffer. But that being said, when we arrived at Labor Day, we had our first post meeting after the holiday, and we both agreed that it was time to wind down the company formally. And my dad was simultaneously pretty sick. He had asked me to come up there for 2 different weeks in September, 1 week to just be there with him while my stepmother enjoyed a vacation. He couldn't travel because he was so sick with leukemia-related diseases. He had been living with leukemia for a long time. And then a second week to help her and him both simultaneously as she had a knee replacement. So the decision to make Cognitive Path was made. First week with my dad went great, but I could tell he was really diminishing, and I was really upset about it. It was upset to the point that when I drove home from Philadelphia to DC, I was literally weeping the entire car ride home. I just kind of knew it was coming. And just brings it back.
Yeah.
Forgive me. I'm an emotional guy, folks, so bear with me. I had a big race that week. It was my primary race for the season, and I completely bonked it. I was so distraught. I think I got sick, but as you know, when these things start happening, our body starts signaling to us that there's issues. So I had some digestive issues and couldn't eat for a few days. And as a result of it, could not run the race. And then I went back to Philadelphia promptly afterwards. And while my stepmother was in surgery, I went for a run, came back to be there for her. She came out, and during that time, he had a heart attack. And I literally had to drive back up north of the city from Penn to where my dad was in Abington. And they had resuscitated him after being dead for 40 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And so he was basically brain dead, and he had another heart attack almost within 5 minutes of me getting there. I feel like he waited for me in some way, and I had to DNR him. And so within 3 weeks, it all fell apart. And I was just broken.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it took me I had a marathon. I was running New York City that year just for fun. I think that kept me a little bit on track, but after the marathon, I really just went into a black hole for about a month.
I can understand why. To lose a parent, especially like that. My mom was a DNR situation too, but it happened very fast and it was kind of over a few days. And that is very difficult to go through.
Yeah. It's shocking.
It is.
And I feel so much compassion for my stepmother. Can you imagine coming out of surgery and then all of a sudden your partner of 35 years is gone just like that?
I feel that. And I feel also for you, because having what was going on with your business, you already have all this pressure and this stress, and you're worried about your own family. You're worried about your own future and finances and all the stuff, right? Our identities get wrapped up. And you took great pride. You and I collaborated on stuff with that company, and you were very proud of it. And of course, I witnessed as it's like trajectory is hot, everything is going really well. And then it's just like things really did go sideways. And who can predict what's going to happen politically and the impact that these things are going to have? And you can try, but would it have done any good? It didn't. So I feel like you're going through this thing that is already going to be just so hard to go through. And it's a personal thing. You're going through what the whole world is going, well, especially in the United States in the DC area, you're going through this like political thing where it's like everything's being disrupted at the same time. And you're watching your business. You're having to let that go too at the same time.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. There's a chapter in the book that you have. It's called Begin by Surrendering.
Yes.
And you're careful about saying at that point, it doesn't mean giving up. So, what did surrender actually look like for you in those first weeks? Because when I went through dealing with the stuff with my mom passing, I don't even know that I could even think straight for a little bit. It was very weird.
Yeah.
But if you can think back to that time, what did surrender look like for you in those first few weeks, the practice of it?
Yeah. And I think it's important that distinction for me because surrendering in our culture, in the Western culture, really means losing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to lose, right? Nobody wakes up every day and says, gee, I want to lose. I'm going to surrender today. But life has so much power over us. And I've heard this even from your guests too, like the gentleman that got sued by the state of California.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Shane Barker. Yep.
Like he never saw that one coming, I guarantee you.
No.
And we have so many things that are out of our control that we have no way to necessarily foresee what's going to happen or control the outcome of what's going to happen. And so we have to surrender to that fact. And surrendering doesn't mean I'm going to give up my life, but it does mean I'm going to stop trying to fight the forces that are at play, the forces that I have no influence over. And I've heard this over and over again from you, from other folks, from people in my life. It's just so important to understand what is in my sphere of influence and what isn't. And really taking that deep look at what's happening and understanding that A, I could not bring my dad back. B, he was probably the most important figure in my life. And his lessons were still with me though. So I didn't have to surrender what he had given me, but I had to surrender that I can't talk to him anymore directly.
Yeah.
I also had to surrender the fact that I could not stop the company from failing. I did everything I could to make it go. I probably went too far and probably should have made that conclusion sooner, to be honest. I'm a hard fool when it comes to surrendering. I'll fight too long. I definitely make that mistake.
It's that old punk rock kid thing,
I don't like giving up, but I will say when I do quit or surrender, it is because there is no other outcome that I can foresee that's palatable.
Yeah. You reach this impasse, right? It's not going to go forward this way. That is no longer the option.
It is what it is. Like, I was not going to influence the Trump administration to suddenly take back civilian government.
Knowing you, I'm sure there's a part of you that was like, but could I? Why am I assuming I couldn't? Maybe I could. Is there a way?
Yes.
Oh my God, I know. That's a great segue because one of my questions I have for you is about honoring red flags. You write about honoring red flags, about how staying in a situation that you knew was wrong ended up costing you more than leaving would have. What makes red flags so hard to honor in the moment, even when we can see them? Why is it so hard?
I think it's because we believe sometimes, I don't know about you, but I have a little bit of an ego. And I believe that I can affect change, right? I can create the right outcomes if I put in the right effort, if the merit is there. We believe in this merit economy.
Yeah.
Sometimes merit isn't enough. Sometimes it's just political. And this is at work too. I mean, this isn't just the larger country. I mean, we all understand this if we've worked in an enterprise. It's sometimes relationships, right or wrong, matter more than the actual work at hand. And understanding that is often the difference between leadership and people that just become managers.
Mm.
And I have seen that over and over again where there have been clear red flags. I think there's one situation in the book where I had a boss that I got hired. Before I started, I was on a big family vacation in Yellowstone. He asked me to start working before I began. That's one red flag.
Yeah.
3 days into the job, somebody that started at the same time as me quit without even saying a word and left. Red flag number 2.
Uh-huh.
Red flag number 3, 2 of the people that had worked with him before I had called for their insights never got back to me. Now, I just kind of assumed that they were busy, but that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And I blew right through all 3 of those red flags and ended up in a very toxic situation, which I stayed in for a long time until it became clear that it was unhealthy for me.
I had a similar story where there was a time when it was, did I want to go get involved in sort of a work project with this group of people? And I was actually sort of warned ahead of time, like, be careful, your star can never burn brighter than, like, and I heard it, I acknowledged it. And there are some times I do believe, because I did this, there are some times where I saw the red flag, I heard the red flag, I acknowledged the red flag. I'm like, this probably will not last for long. And yet, I still think that there's something here that I have to do, even if I'm walking into something that I don't know how this is going to go. So it wasn't a huge surprise, but there are those times, though, with the red flags that you just ignore them. You're hoping so much that you're wrong or that you can fix it or change it. I think this is when you start looking at things like the personality, like, how do the personalities work together? And what can I figure out? And it's like,
I'm so special that it'll work out perfectly, I promise.
sure, right. Yeah.
You're going to like me so much, it's going to groove.
Since I understand the way that you operate, yeah, at the end of the day, like, that's not always what goes into it. And so it's really helpful that in a time like now, I was telling you before we started recording, one of the reasons I love that we're having this conversation, that you wrote the book that you did, is because here we are. You've always been an early adopter. You've always been somebody who's very curious about technology and the world around you. Here we are where change is happening at the speed of, you can't even keep up.
Weekly, right? Weekly.
All the time. Not just change in one area, it is change in all the areas. Like when you're doing a risk analysis, you've got the PESTLE acronym, and every single part of that acronym is being activated right now and actively changing in dramatic ways. So it's risk everywhere. I don't know how strategic planners do it anymore, because how are you playing on anything? All the institutions, the programs, the things with which we moor ourselves to in order to find direction are pretty much exploding around us. And yet you're like, wait, I can help, because you have thought through. And I wanted to ask you about this because it's at the heart of your book. You have this framework. And I don't know how much you want to go into it, but it's basically like you've got these 5 moves, you've got these 5 steps, and you talk about it being like water. Do you mind sharing that? Is that sharing too much of the good stuff?
No, I think that's awesome. And the whole purpose of the book is to be an idea virus. I've written books before just for the business, and I've written books to help people. I feel like books work best when they're idea viruses, when they're meant to help people. And so if you have 20 people come up to you and say, my God, this changed the way I did things and it really helped me in XX ways, fantastic. Okay, that's the win. The think liquid idea is going back to the surrender. We've hit a situation, it may be small, like ChatGPT is no longer a viable option because of the ethics in play, the questionable financially, Claude is superior. This is our current conversation, right? And so I need to embrace that. What we really need to do before we just jump, and I think so many people in life and at work try to find a plan. They find the plan and then they follow the plan until they're slamming their head into the wall. And then they have that surrender moment, that very painful surrender moment where it's forced on them rather than living in the moment and seeing the changes occurring around them and adapting accordingly. And this is a huge leadership crisis, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think it really applies to CEOs and executives. And in particular, I think associations have a challenge with this because they are so much like pseudo-government organizations with their silos and the way they work and their different revenue streams that don't talk to each other. Members don't care about that. Members have a singular association experience.
Yeah.
So being able to move away from this is the way it is, and I'm going to continually iterate and adapt is a very difficult change for people. That's what this book really seeks to do. And that think liquid mindset is really adopting an attitude of water. I mean, if you think about water in a natural environment, not in a water bottle, if it rains, for example, or it snows in the mountains in the Sierra Nevadas, let's have a little picture, and it gets warm, it's spring, it melts, it finds the most natural course of the sea.
Lovely.
And so our own solutioning needs to be fluid like that. And we may run into branches, we may run into difficulties, we may run into wholesale force majeure changes that create moments that take our strategy and basically flush it. And when that happens, we have to be willing to adapt. It can't be the crisis that we're used to. It can't be COVID where everything is broken and we have to figure it out in a panic.
Yeah.
I think we have to get used to being uncomfortable. We have to get used to this mindset where things are going to change. They're going to change probably this week or this month or most certainly this quarter. And we have to be willing to adapt accordingly and maybe change our workflows and our processes to meet that moment. If we're not prepared for that, then we're doing ourselves a disservice.
I couldn't agree more. I don't foresee anything that would make it so that the change that's happening right now is somehow going to become slower. It's going to somehow go away and we'll all be frozen in time. You even look at COVID, and even while everybody was having to shelter in place, that's when we had enormous change with technology and people working differently. I mean, we are going faster and faster, and the change is happening faster and faster. So the ability to be able to make good decisions during that change means that we need to get better at being able to live in such an environment. We have to adapt the way that we approach life. Some people are probably naturally inherently better, maybe more geared for that sort of thing. But it doesn't mean that we can't learn and figure out how can we get better at this. You're a marathon runner. You've done all of these things. I mean, I think about this with your breathing and with like how you weren't always.
No.
I knew you before. I've known you since, like you've changed quite a bit. But anybody who would meet you now, they would know you as Geoff, the marathoner, the runner.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
So we can be the ones that have that think liquid mindset. We can be those people who are agile, that are able to adapt.
It's so funny. I was listening to somebody talk about being 70 and not being ever able to run because they're too old. And I looked at them. I didn't say anything because they weren't asking for my opinion. And I've definitely learned to not offer my opinion unless I'm asked. And thank God for 21 years of marriage. I've definitely learned. But that's not true. He could have learned to run if he wanted to. I'm not saying he's going to win a race, but the difference between walking and running is literally flight in air. Even for a nanosecond, anybody can do this. Having started running at the age of 49 as a result of COVID, actually, I never thought that this would be part of my life. I never thought I would enjoy running. And yet here we are.
Yeah.
And it's all because of an open attitude and a willingness to try different things. I think that's really the key to a lot of this, is having that sense of curiosity, that willingness that maybe I'm not right, or maybe the way I'm doing things could improve.
You're tapped in. So you came up in the punk scene as a kid, and curiosity seems to run through everything you do: photography, marathons, AI, tech, the early days of social media, Buddhism. What role did curiosity play when you were grieving? When most people would understandably shut down, what role did curiosity play at this time when you're grieving the loss of your father, who was such a great advisor and such an important part of your life, and this company?
Yeah, I think this is the desert conversation, right? When you're in the heart of darkness, so to speak. I think it's really useful to talk about this. In fact, this is really probably the most important part of our conversation, because we've all been there. And I think one thing I would add that maybe I haven't heard too much about is that sometimes it's really dark. It is just god awful. You're crying all the time. I was crying all the time. I was severely depressed. We were talking before we got on the podcast about my dog. I got the dog at the end of November, really a lifesaver in a way, because I couldn't sit there and cry
Yeah.
with this dog, this puppy saying, "Hey, play with me."
Sassy.
Yes, her name is Sassy. She lives by the name. And, I need to walk. I need to go for a run. I mean, that dog probably saved me in a lot of ways, but also knowing that misery and suffering is part of life, but at the same time, there's only one way out. We could stuff this stuff down. We could try to fight it, and it's just going to get worse and blow up in our lives. The only way out, I believe, is to walk through it. And so I let myself go through that. I let myself get counseling. I let myself journal every morning. I began the sits every morning again, the Zen Buddhism meditation for 20 minutes, 30 minutes every morning. And I'm still doing it. And as I did that, that really started to heal me in a really strange way. I felt that my misery was somewhat not just because of everything that was happening, but also because of the way I was consuming life. And what I mean by that is, and there's a story about this in the book too, but I think it's really relevant to a lot of people: doom scrolling, spending too much time on social media, feeling like my life was terrible compared to everybody else's, seeing maybe on LinkedIn that incredible award or that awesomeness that we all want to celebrate, but at the same time, we're kind of like, I wish that was me, right? And sometimes that happens, comparing ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Very human behavior. And I think networks, and you and I both came up during this era, what used to be social has become algorithmic clickbait. And that stuff is designed and sometimes even created by the content creator to get us to like intentionally. Maybe it's meant for their own branding. Maybe it's just, hey, I want to look good, whatever it might be. There are professionals at it, and there are people that are just naturally very good at it. Regardless of what the motive is, the way I receive it and the way I feel when I leave that social network, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, even Substack, that was negative for me.
Yeah.
So I put a device on my phone, which told me how much time I was spending on networks. And I was losing about 2 hours a day to social media.
Is that all?
Exactly. It's not that uncommon.
Yeah.
And especially for people that came up through that technology and cut their teeth in it, I think it's very natural. It's part of our work. So I stopped participating on Meta networks. I canceled my Threads account. I still have Facebook because my family's there. And Instagram is still important because of the photography part. But I think I might spend an hour and a half or 2 hours on those networks now per week.
Yeah, that's great.
As opposed to per day. Totally great. I am embarrassed to admit it. I used to chew my nails lifelong. It was always something I was very ashamed of. Whenever I was on camera, I would never let people see my nails. But all of a sudden, I stopped biting my nails during this period. As soon as I stopped social media.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting. Oh my gosh.
And then I just started writing the book. And I used to write books all the time and I stopped
Yeah.
when the kid was maybe toddler age. It's really hard. Parents, we know it's
Yes.
hard to have that functioning, dynamic professional life that we used to have until when those kids arrive. But now my kid's older. I have a little more time. They basically just want me to drop them off and then go away and send them money. So I do that.
Yeah. It's like the same kid. I have the same kid. It's amazing.
And it's amazing how those teenagers are. Can't wait till you get your driver's license. But the book started to flow out of me. It just started happening. Literally 500 words a day. That's just how I write. Within a month, I literally had 10,000 words, and it was pretty structured and concrete. And I was using AI to not write it, but to serve as a developmental editor and really kick the teeth out of the way the pieces were working together and where it was linear and concrete and logical and worthwhile, most importantly. And I said, all right, we're here. This is the Rubicon. We're going. And I decided to commit to it. Book was done within 3 months. All that happened because of my dad's passing and the suffering that came out of it and the willingness to kind of look at what was going on in my life, meditate deeply on it, and make changes.
Yeah. I came to think about how therapeutic and cathartic it must have been to put that together, because this is helpful for leaders who are needing to make decisions and they're trying to figure out, how do I do this and lead teams and all of that stuff. This is important. Absolutely. I can see who the primary audience is for this. But to me, I think about any single human being out there that's going through times of change and they care about making good decisions and they want a thoughtful framework about it. I think that this is helpful for them. I do see it as a guidebook for humans, not just business humans.
Right. And it's funny how this is, again, like a really Western thing where we have our business life and our personal life and our social life. And
Right.
maybe we have like 5 lives, depending on how amazing you are. But I find that it's all interconnected. So if my personal life is not right, then my business life gets impacted. And we've seen that happen with people. Maybe they're a little glum, or maybe they're angry, or maybe they're over elated. Who knows? But whatever is happening in your personal life definitely impacts your business life, and particularly prolonged situations
Yeah.
definitely have that impact.
Oh, for sure.
We're pretty good at masking for a couple of weeks, but you get into a couple months and it turns into a grind. And it's also the same way back. Like, how many times have we had a hard time at work, and then our wives, our husbands, our kids, our partners, our family, they say, what's going on with you? You're not the same. Or can you maybe try to get this a little bit better under control?
Yeah. And you're like, oh,
Oh,
okay.
uh-oh, there's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
So, whatever it might be, to ignore this interconnectedness is to deny being human, I believe.
Mm. Is there a flag that you're currently working on to honor in your own life of work?
Yeah. So as I've gone to reinvent my professional consulting self, I have definitely decided that for me, I'm much less interested in these revenue moments, and I'm much more interested in putting myself in positions to touch and help people. I really enjoy coaching, and it's no coincidence that I'm having a lot of people come at me for coaching in different areas of my life. It's just I'm turning into that role. Like, I literally have people just coming to me and asking me to teach them how to use a camera, or how to run, how to use AI, obviously,
How to write a book?
how to write a book. Exactly. So you could see it as happening, and I feel like that's my calling. And I definitely feel better when I'm giving, because not only am I giving, I'm learning. I've definitely seen that a good coach is a good listener,
Mm.
and a good listener sees things in other people that it is within them. Everybody's a teacher in their own way. And so for me, it's just a really dynamic, fun, spiritual experience that I enjoy. And I want to stay with that.
That definitely ties in with what I know of you. I mean, the alignment is there, because even as you got into photography, you get into it, you love it, and then what do? You end up leading people on tours, on photography tours, and teaching them tricks along the way and how to get the best shots and all of the things. I think it's very natural for you to just do that, to guide people and the experience that you've learned from. Then you then are like, okay, here is what I have to teach you. And I'll teach you, I'll help you fast track to wherever it is. I think it's good.
I would even argue that it's not even mine to teach you. It's what somebody else gave me, so I'm passing it on.
Yeah. So you're a marathoner now. And somewhere in the running and the meditation and the writing, you've built a different sort of relationship to discomfort. I was curious about asking about this because I think I told you at one point that I knew I was in trouble when I caught myself saying to a group of women, I don't want to make this change right now because I'm so comfortable. And then it was like lifed. And then within a couple of weeks, I received news, sideways moment hits my life. And I was like, I should have known. I said I was comfortable. Those are the danger words. It's like, I don't want to change because I'm comfortable. Okay. And the universe provides.
Right. You have a good attitude about this.
Yeah. You built a different kind of relationship to discomfort. What has the body taught you about change and discomfort that the mind couldn't?
That's a really good question. And I would tell you that I've learned what pain is and what manageable pain is versus real pain.
Mm.
And real pain to me, from a running perspective, so you get that sharp pain and you suddenly feel like maybe something pop, or anybody that's had broken bones, and unfortunately I've had way too many of them,
Yeah.
But when you're in a endurance situation, your body starts saying, we can stop now. Really, this isn't a good idea. And I think when you're in a situation, you have to really understand that, is the goal still attainable? And that's the conversation when you have with yourself when you're at the end of a run, a big long run, a marathon, for example. I just PR'd the Alexandria Half Marathon, and I actually showed up at the race not intending to PR. I ran on heart rate, and I got to the 9th mile. By the way, PR is personal record for those that aren't runners. And I looked at my watch, and I was 3 minutes ahead of my PR on pace. And I just saw that. I was in pain. I was definitely ready to cool down, so to speak, which was my original intent. But I saw that the goal was attainable suddenly. And I really dug in deep, and I ran through the pain for 4 miles and literally PR'd by 5 minutes. And the time was so strong for my old man self that it made me realize I could potentially qualify for Boston.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I'm going to shoot for that as a result of that race. But you have to be open to that moment. You also have to understand when it's time to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like there have been races where I've run where it's been really hot. And it was very clear that my body wasn't going to participate, or that I couldn't make it through it. I think that race I was talking about when my dad was passing and I was sick, I got 6 miles into it and couldn't get up a hill. And rather than really force myself through that, walk through it, have a really long, painful, uncomfortable day, I quit. We have to listen to our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when we're in these depressions, for example, or these moments of suffering, like that job is yanked out from us. Maybe, God forbid, we lose a partner for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I've seen this happen too. And it's sudden, it's not expected. That's when we have to listen to ourselves. I think one of your podcast guests said, like, I get up and take a walk if I'm tired in the middle of the day, or take a nap or whatever. Although, some of us don't have the luxury of doing that at work, but whatever it might be, you could still get that breath of fresh air. You could take that mental breather. I think we really have to learn to get in touch with our inner selves and know how to manage through, so that we can get through that day, get through that effort, or know when that effort has to end.
I mean, I think you're right. I think that through all of these interviews I'm doing, there is sort of a common theme that people are figuring out, or at least a lot of the people I've talked with, and it's different durations, different methods, but throughout the day, they're realizing that it's important for them to have these moments. The person I just interviewed yesterday said, every hour, I don't care where you are, what you're doing, everyone has 2 to 3 minutes where they can just slow down, be still.
Breathe.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, his focus is breath work. And the person that I spoke with who studies brain science, and she's like, you have to build in these breaks. She calls them brain breaks, because you actually need this to make better decisions for your cognitive health. So it makes sense. It totally makes sense. So now, today, where you are now, you've got this book that's coming out. I'm very, very excited for people to be getting their hands on it, checking it out. And the book is called Now Is Gone: Think Liquid to Navigate Never-Ending Change. It's due out June 2nd, and it's available for pre-order. My goal is to have a link that I can send people to so that people can go and get their hands on it immediately.
Yeah. We're pretty close. So, as you know, I kind of ran this one kind of like a marathon, and
You did.
I did. I really pushed this one out quickly. I just feel like with AI, it needs to happen because so many people are suffering, and
They are.
AI is really a cultural challenge. It's less of a technological challenge. In spite of all the vendor jargon and crazy hype, it really is for us humans hard to accept this kind of introduction and interference in our work, right? It's disruptive.
Yeah.
So we will have it laid out. I think I'm getting the galleys today.
Yay. I'm very excited about the fact that you're getting the galleys and that this is coming out soon.
It's special. And I'll tell you what, this book isn't about me, but there will be that moment when I get that first crate of books and I hold the book.
Yeah.
And it's just special. It's really special. Anyway, it should be available next week at the latest for pre-order.
Great. Okay. Well, I will expect that you will get me that link and I will put that in the show notes. So, folks, if you're listening to this or watching this, whatever I have access to will be in the show notes or in a comment below wherever you are seeing this or listening to it. You will also be able to go to buzzbylivingston.substack.com and generativebuzz.ai to get more information. You can also, I'll have Geoff's LinkedIn URL, his link, and the show notes as well, so that you can connect with Geoff directly. And Geoff, any other ways? Did I catch them all or not quite?
I want to throw one at you. Like,
Okay.
what's the big thing that you want to do? Like, what's your evolution or your think liquid moment that you're going through right now?
My liquid moment, claiming what I'm doing here is big. Not calling it a creative project, but acknowledging the fact that I really love this work. I'm like you. I think that I am acknowledging the fact that this matters to me a lot, that I want to do work that has meaning, that impacts people in a positive way, and that really helps. I truly believe that this is the best way I can do it. And so now it's just a matter of figuring out, how can I take this and best share it and put it into the world in a way that more people are able to get the help that they need when they need it.
Do I anticipate a Kiki idea virus coming?
I think so. Yeah.
I know. I'm totally being facetious, folks. I know what's coming.
Yes. He's teasing the book. And the truth is that, you were talking about your dad and how important he is to you. I just had this long conversation with my dad. I used to write all the time. I won awards for it. And then my writing became something that I did for work. And it was not as focused on the creative efforts that I wanted to put into things. Then I started building my muscle and started getting up and first thing in the morning writing and doing at least 750 words every day. You and I talked about that. So I've been building the writing muscle, and now I feel like it's time to do the thing that I have been wanting to do. And as opposed to in the past where it's like, oh, well, here's a really neat idea, a concept or something. Like, I actually have a pretty good idea about what I want this to look like, what I want to be in there. I'm actively researching and interviewing people. I'm working towards it.
Exciting.
It's really great. I mean, I've made a companion journal with prompts already. Like, I need to write the book. Then talking with you, of course, I wanted to look to you to say, hey, friend, hey, buddy, hey, pal, you going to help me?
It's so incredible to hear you talk about it. And it does sound like you're thinking on a much larger macro scale now that you're looking at that larger piece of work, if you would. It makes you, at least for me, it makes me think about things on a larger scale. on that more strategic level, if you would, to see the bigger picture. Is that changing the way you're thinking? God, look, I'm interviewing you on your own podcast.
I know. I can tell that you're a podcaster because you just totally flipped the script. Yeah, it is actually, though. I do think that it's doing that where it's a commitment, is what I'm realizing, is that it's a commitment because for me to have a book that exists in a form where somebody can buy it and hold on to this compendium of whatever I'm giving them, it's different than a vow, but it's somehow more sacred. It's like a compact with the idea, your idea virus. It's like, this is official, and it makes it more of a commitment to that grouping of ideas. I do see it as being bigger, and there are lots of different things that are connected to it. We'll see how it goes, but that is that. I'm not going to pretend like I'm making $1 million. I'm not at all. I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, no, authors still make money. People don't get that. Unless you're Brene Brown, you're not making money.
Or podcasters or whatever. But here's what I know I'm not doing. I'm not giving it up. The money thing, it's going to happen in whatever way. But this is what I'm doing.
What a gift for you, but also for the people because of your approach. I think it's really awesome.
Oh, my friend. This is your interview. Let me remind you that
Sorry, things go sideways, listeners. I can't help myself. Former journalist, right?
Yes, our podcast just went sideways. I can do this all day, man.
Yes, me too.
I have this question I like to ask at the end, and it's, what feels honest to say to someone right now who is going through their sideways moment and their work, their family, their worlds, it's falling apart, and they haven't found the next thing yet? What feels honest and true to say to them right now?
Let it bleed. Let those feelings and those emotions, they aren't necessarily factual, but they're real. And we have to go through those. We have to walk through the desert. Be good to yourself. Let yourself bleed, because it's the fastest way to get through it, and to honor those feelings, not to stuff them down or try to shove them away, or even to intentionally maybe just get out that box of tissues and that pint of Haagen-Dazs. I never did that.
Well, that wasn't me.
That wasn't me. But you know what I mean? To go through the forced grieving, so to speak, or forced grieving of the job or the person or whatever the situation might be.
Yeah.
But to just let it happen naturally,
Mm-hmm.
and to honor your process.
Yeah.
That's going to get you to where you're going to go faster than you would think. And have you read Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way?
Yes, way back when. And I have the morning pages. That's actually where the 750 plus words, like, I actually even invested in the print journal that goes along with it and everything.
Yeah.
With the prompts and stuff.
Yeah. Journaling and writing your way through that process can really help too, because you'll be surprised what comes out of your head and the paths that suddenly open up in front of you.
Yeah, that's true. Geoff, thank you, my friend, for joining me on the show. This was incredible. It reminds me of not only like why I'm so proud to be your friend, but also it reminds me of like why I love doing this show, because I get to be able to have conversations like this. It was really meaningful.
Kiki, thank you for your time. I'm excited for the Things Go Sideways book. I'm waiting. Can't wait to see it.
Yes. All right, folks, now is gone. Think Liquid to Navigate Never-Ending Change is out June 2nd and around about then, and available for pre-order. By the time you are looking at this, you will be able to at least sign up to get your hands on this thing as soon as it comes out. Geoff's LinkedIn, his Substack, The Buzz, and his work at Generative Buzz, and the pre-order link or any links I have access to will be available in the show notes. I just want to have a reminder to you that you don't have to resolve all the things today. You just have to stop pretending. I want you to remember, everyone, that when things go sideways, that is where the real story begins. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.